here in the Allegheny National Forest to monitor the decline of ash trees due to emerald ash borer.
Emerald ash borer is an invasive species that came from Asia. In Asia, there are ash trees, but those ash trees co-evolved with the emerald ash borer, so they have native resistance. When this emerald ash borer came to North America, our trees have no built-up resistance to them. So these ash borers were able to come through and has been sweeping through the United States targeting ash trees.
I'm Jason Kilgore. I'm a professor of biology at Washington and Jefferson College, and I coordinate the environmental science major. We're interested in the pattern of the rate of decline of ash trees because where we usually have studied ash trees being killed by emerald ash borer in Ohio, the forests are very dense with ash. Here, ash are much more scattered, and so we're interested in how these ash trees are declining across a very large landscape. As those ash decline, what is the future forest going to look like on the Allegheny National Forest in 20, 50, and 100 years from now? What are we planning for tomorrow?
Probably these, and then hit the lingering ash.
What are those plots?
One plot is a Prism plot, and one is a combo, so we have Prism, cVeg, and ash.
Which one do you guys want to hit first, the Prism or the combo?
Which Prism do
I
you
think
have?
the Prism is 165.
Which one's deeper into the forest?
166.
Well,
No, this is a paved road.
we gotta walk further.
And this one, we can go to this one. Yep.
Yeah, I think we should do the combo first, and then Prism.
Okay, so let's shoot for you leaving by 8.
Yep.
Sound good?
Yep.
Okay, thanks guys. That's it.
All right.
So it's important to monitor ash trees because ash trees compose a significant portion of the forest. In some places, 20 to 30% of the trees are ash trees, and many of them are very large ash trees. And these larger trees support a large biodiversity of other species. In North America, 40 species of insects are 100% dependent on ash trees for their life cycle. And there are over 30 species of insects that use ash as a primary or secondary host in addition to another species. So those species will also be impacted. So we're talking around 80 species of insects alone, especially lepidopterans or butterflies and moths, that are being impacted by the loss of ash. What species depend on those insects? Those will also be impacted. Because they're a significant proportion of the forest, they host a lot of other wildlife. Woodpeckers, bats, a lot of animals will use ash as habitat. So you lose large ash, you lose habitat. Also many insect species that are dependent on ash trees.
So each of these trees in our 100-meter radius plot, each of the ash trees is labeled with a number, has a tag. And so we go to each of the trees that is tagged and we gather the diameter, breast height, and the average canopy condition, or the ash canopy condition. This just gives us information on how the tree is growing year over year.
We use a canopy condition rating developed by Dr. Kathleen Knight, where we rate a tree as a 1, and a tree is very healthy, full canopy. A 2 is that the canopy is starting to thin. 3, less than 50% of the canopy is lost, and there are some dead branches. A 4 is more than 50% of the canopy is lost, but still some leaves remaining in a canopy, and a 5 is dead. So we're going to take a look at this tree. I can see that this tree is not doing well. I can see that the canopy is dead, but what I'm looking for now are epicormic shoots, and there are some signs of life in the top of the canopy. So we'll make a note that the canopy is dead and that there are some epicormic shoots or epis in the top of the canopy. And we'll move on to the next tree. Is there a way to conserve ash on the national forest or across the eastern North America? So we're conducting a large scale, geographic scale experiment to determine if we can treat some of the trees in the most genetically diverse stands of ash, and the untreated trees in those stands could survive. So similar to herd immunity, this is called associational protection. Can an untreated tree survive the emerald ash borer onslaught if we knock down the population of emerald ash borer enough by treating with a systemic insecticide some of the other ash trees in that same stand. Then we can conserve some of the genetic diversity of those ash trees, and we can conserve and not lose all of those insect species that are 100% dependent on ash for their life cycle. Yeah, this is a fantastic opportunity for W&J students to get involved in doing real-world forest ecology research. This is work that is very important to the future of ash, but it also gives these students an opportunity to get into the field and learn skills that they may only be introduced to or use in one lab, but here they're using these skills for 6 weeks.
In the classroom, we learn a lot of information and we learn some of these techniques, but we don't see the real application and importance of it.
Actually be out in the forest and use some of these things I've learned is really exciting. It's also really exciting because this is a stepping stone for my next internship.
When we're out here, we're performing this research and we have a better understanding of the effects and the importance of our research.
What is the question that we're asking? What is the evidence that we need to answer that question? How do we go about gathering that evidence and turning that evidence into data, which we then analyze, visualize, and interpret? Some of the students who are engaged in this work with me are not going to go into ecology. They have an interest and a passion for the environment, but they are actually studying biochemistry, biophysics. So these students are interested in doing science. They happen to be doing science in the Allegheny National Forest. I've had a number of students who are going to pre-med, biophysics, etc., who follow that kind of process. Every time we meet with the Forest Service, I make sure my students get to talk to the people who are doing the work on the forest, and then they're more likely to not only know about those jobs, that those jobs exist, but also to apply to those jobs, and they know people in the agency now who are doing the kind of work that they want to be doing when they graduate. Students can use this experience not only to continue with research with me, but to get internships in the future and to get jobs to set them off on a career in ecology.
Yeah, I've already met multiple researchers and other people here at the USDA Forest Service, so I'm making connections and whatnot, and I'm making a lot of skills. I'm learning a lot more about trees and IDing all sorts of plants, a lot more than I have in the classroom.
We have 2020 AC STEM, and it was a 5. Well, it was 1. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. These are 2021 data. There was a 4. That's why we're back at this plot, guys.
Dr. Kilgore, I think he's a really great professor.
Always tries to put me in the best situations possible. Tries to get me into the right classes, right opportunities, and he's really dedicated to making sure I do well in school and have a really good future ahead of me.
Ace, Rob?
I have a passion for this environment. I've always had a passion for the land, for the plants and the animals and the fungi and all of the other critters that occupy this space. And if I can get students out to see that passion, to become part of that passion, to understand that landscape, they too will be passionate about this place, about why this landscape must be conserved and managed well, and then they will spread this land ethos and conservation ethos to their friends, their family, and into future generations.